On a beautiful autumn day, a very diverse group of people gathered at Atlanta Stone Mountain Park for the annual powwow and Indian celebration.
Well, this powwow is a gathering of different tribes from across the nation. We probably have well over 50 tribes here. And one of the biggest things about Native people is that they're all different.
All of our languages are different. As French would be the German, German to English, English to Italian.
Little Big Mountain and Jim Sawgrass were just two of the many educators on hand to teach others about Native American customs and traditions.
You know, we didn't walk up to each other and ask each other how. So we have events like this, you can walk up, ask them what tribe they are, myself being Comanche, and you can ask them how do you say hello in your language. We say Manawe. It's not just a powwow where you see the beautiful dancing and hear the beautiful singing, but we have educators as myself, Jim Sawgrass. We teach primitive skills, we teach native lifestyle. So you can actually not only see the beauty of Native America, but also learn all the aspects of it as well.
The festival also featured arts and crafts, delicious native foods, and the tradition of storytelling that thrilled the rather curious crowd called the art of communal teachings.
Counting coup on the enemy. At one time, there was more honor in touching your enemy with a short stick than it would be by taking his life. And there's a story that I was told long ago, and I also read it in some literature on two Comanche warriors that were in a competition. One thought he was a better warrior than the other one. And so what he did was he went into a Ute camp, and he stole 4 horses, and he brought them back to his village. And they honored him because he went into the enemy's village and got away with their horses. Well, the second warrior, not to be outdone, he went to that Ute camp and he heard what they call a hand game, which is a game that was played by a lot of the warriors, to pass the time. And they were in a big lodge, bigger than mine. There were about 13, 14 warriors in there playing this. Well, what he did was he wrapped himself up in a blanket so nobody would recognize him. He disguised himself and he walked into that teepee that had those guys playing them games, and he touched each one of them on the shoulder. That was the act of counting coup. So he counted coup on 13 or 14 of his warriors, which was a greater feat than was taking the horses.
Most people know me as the voice of Pocahontas or as Mary Crow Dog from Jane Fonda's Lakota Woman Sija Wounded Knee. The heart of the story of Pocahontas, which was when she was 12 years old, she threw herself upon John Smith when the Powhatan people and the settlers were about ready to go to war. She threw herself upon John Smith and stopped war from happening. That's what the story is about. She was only 11 when it happened, and I think that that's such a beautiful thing, that an 11-year-old could have been such a heroine and so unafraid to give up her own life that she would do such a thing to save so many other people's lives.
While Bedard was explaining the true story of Pocahontas, Little Big Mountain shared stories on how his nation hunted in the past to help the crowd understand primitive hunting skills.
This is a wolf hide, and like many different tribes, we would use hides like this for disguise in order to hunt. We would use a spear like I have in my hand right here, or you can use a bow. I would crawl right up to him, getting as close as possible because he's not afraid, and I would stand up and lunge that spear right into the heart. Just like that. You had to get them the first time, otherwise you'd get chased by a buffalo. And that's not very fun.
The powwow is not just where you come to enjoy the elaborate costumes and storytelling. It's also about experiencing the living history of Native American culture.
This encampment that I'm standing here in is my encampment, represents the eastern United States. Tribes of the woodlands were farmers, fishermen, hunters, and gatherers.
The regalias reflect tradition, but they also reflect the neon colors of us being a contemporary people living today in this world.
And for a lot of our Indian people, it's a way of life. You go from coast to coast, hitting different events every weekend. whether they're cultural events, history fairs, or competition powwows. So we compete against each other for prize money. Some of us, we don't see each other all year. Our extended family that we get to visit and socialize.
The Powwow and Indian Festival is truly a family-oriented, fun-filled event for all ages.
What is the spiritual undertone of the whole powwow? Honor, respect, dignity, strength,